Christus, the ultimate symmetry. Apocrypha 6. URIM and THUMMIM. Maria Magdalena. Fractal symmetry, the garden of Gaia. Master Pythagoras, the garden. Market, the farmer. Maria, the well at the spring. Maria, the hidden gem. Maria, the ultimate symmetry. Maria, the master of botany. Maria, the market lesson. Maria, the collective mind. Maria, psychic vs atheist. Maria, mind groups analysis. Maria, learn and train the game. Maria, the game of power duel. Maria, the game at the market. Maria, defeat the trolls. Maria, power structure of society. Maria, learn and practice the game. Maria, importance of the market lesson. Maria, the secret home office. Maria, the psychic. Maria, the concept of meditation. Maria, the telepathy concept. Maria, mystery of Egypt. Maria, Susilogic the concept. Maria, sausage the concept. Maria, unconditional the concept. Maria, the secret symmetry. Ultimate symmetry. Maria. Pilgrim. Fractal symmetry. Christus was extremely excited about what he could learn in order to understand everything. After celebrating and feasting upon becoming a new master carpenter, he could now even comprehend the connection between things. Sunday was approaching, so Christus embarked on his journey to meet the master after 3 days. He wanted to relax and absorb everything Master Sanat had said before Sunday arrived. The blooming flowers displayed their beauty, reminding Christus of the symmetry vector aligned with the source. He occasionally picked and ate some familiar herbs along his journey across the lands. But now, he noticed that certain trees and bushes also revealed their fractal patterns, expressing the harmonics they represent. The plants on the forest's edge covered the soil and stored water, while the trees offered shade to the delicate bushes. All of a sudden, Christus realized even more deeply how everything is interconnected. Just like families and groups of animals, plants too knew where to grow and what to do to become symbiotic parts of the whole, contributing to the symmetry and harmony of nature, and becoming even more unconditional. Just like the sandstone bricks used to construct the Grand Council House, where every stone had equal importance in supporting the entire structure, Christus witnessed this same principle in nature. Every plant family had its place and thrived together as the kingdom of plants. Ultimate symmetry. Maria. Pythagoras. The garden. Finally, Christus arrived at the master's garden where he received a warm welcome and enjoyed a delicious salad. There was so much to talk about, and Pythagoras was eager to hear about Christus' experiences as a carpenter. Master Pythagoras asked Christus, "Tell me, what new technological advancements did our beloved Vitruvius bring to his garden?" Christus replied, "Oh, it was truly exciting and clever. Master Vitruvius is often tasked with building viaducts to carry water across valleys in order to construct cities, towns, or fortresses. The challenge lies in maintaining precision during construction, especially when the waterway is high above the ground, requiring numerous stones and tall scaffolding that can be challenging to build." Master Pythagoras nodded and said, "Yes, I've seen such viaducts built by the Romans. It's a clever concept and serves as the foundation for building a city." Christus continued, "Indeed, it is clever, but building them is difficult, dangerous, expensive, and time-consuming. We came up with an innovative solution. We decided to use the intestine of a cow, which is approximately 75 cubits long, as a balance to level 2 pillars. By ensuring that the connecting bridge on top is level, we can build a sturdy structure. With water inside the intestine, it maintains a perfect level on both ends, thanks to the force of gravity. Master Pythagoras listened attentively as Christus explained. To transfer the water from one side to the other, we attached a cow bladder to one end of the intestine and cut off the top to create a funnel. This allowed us to pour the water from one pillar to the next and ultimately to the other side of the valley, where our camp was located. Excitedly, Christus continued, then we realized that if we left the intestine hanging down and kept the other end on the pillar just a little lower than the water level inside the funnel, the water would flow to the other side and fill our amphora with water. We enlisted the help of talented potters to design and produce fitting tubes for us. We then began constructing the waterway in the valley, keeping it just a cubit above the ground for ease of construction. The tubes had to seal tightly to prevent any loss of pressure, as it relied on Earth's gravity to create the level and symmetry needed for our building projects. This innovative method allowed us to build viaducts 3 times faster, with 5 times fewer materials, and with much greater safety. Christus proudly shared, Master Vitruvius praised my skills, calling me the best horse in the barn, and he was very grateful and generous as we bid farewell. Master Pythagoras smiled and said, My dear Christus, your success is evident to all of us, and we are incredibly proud of you. They embraced each other warmly, and Christus felt a deep sense of belonging in the presence of his mentor. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. Market. The Master Farmer. The next morning, Christus was filled with joy as he brought the eggs and apples to the market, eager to meet the people he loved. Thursdays were always bustling with activity, and it felt like coming home to be surrounded by the familiar faces of the market, where everyone was like a big family and always ready to lend a helping hand when needed. As he went about his day, many people approached him with questions about his journey to becoming a master carpenter. Christus happily shared his experiences and answered their inquiries. The day passed by in a whirlwind of conversations and laughter, and before he knew it, a spontaneous celebration had sprung up. They gathered together, sharing food and drinks, while the lively beats of drums filled the air and voices joined in song. Before heading home, Christus made his way to the end of the market to purchase some feta cheese from the farmer. It was renowned as the tastiest cheese around, and the herbs and teas the farmer offered were equally delightful, just as anyone in the garden would prefer. The farmer was known for his kindness, both in the market and in the surrounding fields. After a friendly chat, Christus paid for his purchases and prepared to leave. But suddenly, from the other side of the market, a young girl emerged from the city gate and approached the store. It was the same girl he had seen before, with a dirty face and dressed in tattered clothes. She greeted him with a warm smile and looked into his eyes. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. It was as if time stood still, and the world around them faded away. Their eyes met, and Christus felt a profound connection, as if he were gazing into the depths of the vast blue sky. It was a fraction of a second, but in that brief moment, he could see the stars twinkling in the sky. Reluctantly, they bid farewell to each other, knowing that their paths may not cross again. Yet, the farmer, sensing the special connection, gave a warm smile and subtly winked with his left eye, as if to say there was more to this encounter than met the eye. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. The Well at the Spring. Christus hurried home to have dinner with the master in the garden, but his mind was completely elsewhere. Those eyes, that gaze in just 1 second, as if a lighthouse beam had swept over him and transported him to the light of the universe for that fleeting moment. The next day, he couldn't wait for the break of dawn and went back to the market. Fridays were always a little more special, with everyone in even higher spirits. The atmosphere was welcoming, and Christus was loved by all there. He was incredibly nervous, his thoughts consumed by the daughter and the farmer. As he tried to explain the principles of carpentry while preparing the eggs, he accidentally dropped half a dozen of them. It had been such a long time since he had ever broken a single egg. He had learned that a woman could stand on 4 eggs, demonstrating the strength of the underlying construction concept. He walked over to the well to clean the egg off his hands, clothes, and feet. Just then, the girl arrived to wash some vegetables before selling them at the market stall. It was the most exhilarating moment of his life, even more so than meeting a new master as an apprentice. But he found himself unable to utter a single word, frozen once again. Yet, after the first 3 words she spoke, his nervousness evaporated. Maria said to Christus, "Hello, dear Christus." It was the most loving, soothing tone in those 3 words, instantly calming him down in just 1 second. It was as if he had known those deep, captivating eyes and gentle voice from somewhere, but not in this lifetime. Christus responded, "Your father and mother are very kind. Everyone knows them for the delicious quality of their food." Maria replied, "Oh yes, it is a blessing and beauty on the farm, and indeed they are both very, very, very nice to me." Christus took a cloth, dampened it, and gently cleaned her face, since they only had the river water to serve as a makeshift mirror. He said, "Let me just wipe away the dirt from your work in the fields." Even though she was covered in dirt, he could still see the remarkable symmetry and beauty that others failed to notice. It became even more pronounced than before. Maria became a bit shy and nervous. She explained to Christus, "The farmer and his wife are not my real parents. It's a long story, but they made the decision to end it. That's when the farmer and his wife took me in, as their own children are grown up and have moved away to build their own lives. I have learned so much, and they have always been incredibly kind. The tattered clothes and dirt on my face are just to keep unwanted attention away." Christus replied, "I understand." Maria smiled and said, "It was a pleasure meeting you. How about tomorrow evening at the river, at the small junction, right after the market ends and the goods are back home?" Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. The Perfect Symmetry. Christus was overjoyed, feeling a sense of calmness and familiarity in Maria's gentle voice. It was the most anticipated day, but also the longest 24 hours until they could meet again. He returned to the master's garden with a cheerful mood. Master Pythagoras said, "Christus, my dear, it seems like you had a wonderful day." Christus explained, "Oh yes, I met the farmer's daughter at the well and helped clean the dirt off her face. Suddenly, I saw it, the perfect symmetry in her face, reflecting her true inner self." Master Pythagoras replied, "That is truly impressive. She has become a true master, hiding her true self behind the ragged clothes and dirt on her face." It was a sad story, and the farmer and his wife were the perfect people to bring her back to life. She has a special connection with plants and animals. They can sense her true self and are drawn to her. We used to call her the hidden gem, but now that you have found her, my dear Christus, she shines brighter than ever. She is not only the brightest girl around, but also the kindest woman of all." On the following Saturday at the market, Maria was not at the stall. She was taking care of the farm and feeding the animals while the farmers were at the market. The time had finally come when Christus went to the river at the small junction and sat down. Soon after, a woman dressed in a blue tunic with a touch of purple at the bottom approached. Christus couldn't believe his eyes. It was clearly Maria, but this time she was wrapped in a beautiful tunic to conceal her identity. She removed the tunic, revealing a sporty summer dress. She looked breathtakingly beautiful, and her mind's perfect harmony and symmetry were not lost on Christus or Pythagoras. Overwhelmed, Christus exclaimed, "Wow, you look amazing." "I'm speechless." Maria smiled and replied, "Thank you, my dear Christus," as she embraced him warmly, welcoming him into her presence. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. The Ultimate Symmetry. Christus was captivated, unable to take his eyes off this perfectly symmetrical woman before him. She was the most beautiful person he had ever seen, and her mind radiated a harmony that words could never capture. When she spoke, Christus found himself gazing into her eyes, where he could feel the symmetry supported by her gentle voice. She reached out and took Christus' hand, saying, "The full moon will rise soon. Shall we walk together towards its ascent?" They strolled along the river, and Christus felt an overwhelming sense of delight. It was even better than he had imagined, though he couldn't quite put it into words. Holding her hand in the gentle way she held his, he felt a warmth spreading through his hand, as though he were touching a cozy winter seat cushion. But it was only a sensation, as the actual temperature was normal. As they walked leisurely, Christus couldn't help but notice the symmetry of her clean feet, which matched the beauty of her hands. It was a perfect reflection of her mind. He also noticed a thin silver chain on her left foot. Maria explained that they only harvested 2/3 of the fruits and vegetables, leaving the rest for the animals and for new sprouts to thrive naturally. This way, the garden was nourished as well. But the feeling in Christus' hand, while holding hers, was beyond words or any feeling he had ever experienced. Christus said to Maria, "Can you feel it?" Maria replied, "I was already expecting you to ask." She hugged him, and this time the hug evoked the same sensation as in the market square. The surroundings faded away, but this time it enveloped his entire body. There was that familiar warmth spreading from his hand, but now it extended throughout his being. It came upon him like a lightning strike and lasted for a full minute. As they let go, the full moon rose and cast its radiant light upon their faces, illuminating the dawn of a new era, guided by the ultimate symmetry of humanity. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. The Master of Botany. Maria said to Christus, "When I finally arrived at the farmer's place, it was pure happiness. My life truly began at that moment. He is a very kind person and also a master of botany. Other masters like Pythagoras and Vitruvius know him and they are good friends. On the farm, the animals live in deep harmony. The dogs help with the birth of the babies, and from then on, there is a natural harmony among them. Every evening, they all gather together to make sure the chickens, sheep, and goats are safely inside the barn, protecting them from foxes or wolves. The farmer always leaves some food behind the barn for the wild animals and birds. He also provides seeds and soft grains specifically for the birds. In his garden, all animals, including the birds, are welcome. The sunflowers not only add beauty to the garden but also serve as a favorite snack for the birds. After I learned everything I could from the farmer, he told me that I have become a master too. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. The Market Lesson. Maria said to Christus, "The farmer master told me, now I have taught you everything, and you have become a powerful master. From now on, I will take on another apprentice, and we can switch our afternoon tasks. I will stay here in the garden with the student, and you will go to the market and trade our goods at the store." He asked me what I thought about it. I was excited and ready to do his work at the store, interacting with all the people from the village and the surrounding areas. I said to the farmer, "Sure, that will be easy for me. I can count money very well, and I know how to use the scale. As for the vegetables, I can go to the well at the source and clean them in between. I'll also trade for some fish from the fisher wife, to feed the dogs, before I come back home. And of course, I'll pay the administrator for the stool, table, and shelf. Is there anything else I should remember?" The farmer replied, "No, I don't think so. That sounds fine. But always remember, don't trust anyone, even if they're a stranger." I asked the farmer, "But what do you mean by, don't trust anyone, not even a stranger? I know how to interact with animals, plants, and mushrooms. They have always been very nice to me because I reflect their unconditional state. There are only a few small animals that get scared and run away due to their survival instincts. I have never had any issues with wild or domestic animals, plants, or anything else. I don't understand what you mean. It's just a simple job at the store, right?" The farmer said to me, "Well, listen closely, my dear. I have a very important lesson for you. It's about society, and you must learn and navigate it, because you will find that humans are completely different from animals and plants." Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. The Collective Mind. I asked the farmer, "I still can't understand how there could be a difference, since the sun shines the same for humans and animals. The garden offers the same gifts and fruits, the source water is the same, sleep and dreams are the same. When a baby is born, the process and care are the same. How could there be any difference?" The farmer replied, "It has to do with our minds. Animals and plants have a collective mind, while humans have individual minds. This leads to a materialistic way of thinking, focusing on wealth instead of spiritual richness, which cannot be acquired through money or social status in society. It is through training and learning that we can become infinitely better, until we reach a state of higher consciousness that connects us to the collective mind shared with animals and plants, a connection that other people don't have. It's not just a spiritual concept, it's deeply rooted in our psyche and influences our ability to learn and predict, continuously evolving through the experiences of life and creation." Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. Psychic vs Atheist. I asked the farmer, "But what do you mean by that? What do I need to learn with psychic abilities to communicate with animals and plants?" The farmer replied, "Just give me a hug, honey. That's exactly what we're already doing, every single day. Look around you and think about how you and the animals are friends. This is the concept of psychic prediction, which leads to supreme telepathic consciousness." I asked the farmer, "But I still don't understand why I had this connection and unconditional love from the beginning, which is just a reflection of the love from animals and plants. Why doesn't everybody have this ability, since we all seem to be made of the same atoms?" The farmer answered, "Well, it's actually quite simple to understand the difference between those who are gifted with psychic abilities and others. People have their minds, and those minds are conditional. Because they have individual minds, they think that no one can hear their thoughts or read their minds. And so, they start using this as an advantage over others, resorting to lies and deception as much as they can. They always have conditions when they approach others. They become skilled in cheating and lying, perfecting their facial expressions and body language. They think they're incredibly smart because they can deceive animals, elderly people, and children. At that point, they consider themselves adults and they've become so advanced that they can deceive other adults without even flinching. For them, meeting other people becomes an opportunity to try and cheat." Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. Mind Groups Analysis. I asked the farmer, I still do not get the point of logic where they could live like that with their conscience. How can they ever look in the eyes again, and sleep at night? The farmer said to me, well, it is very simple to understand. They do the same thing we do, which is to train and learn and adapt to become infinitely better. Also as we, they are the same ambitious in doing this. It is only because they do also receive the award, but since their deeds are inverted, means that they train to be conditional. The other people only become losers in their game that they trigger, and that the animals and plants, guess what, are not even animals, but declared as things. Even the sundown is not of interest, because there they could not make their reward. They run and run from lie reward to cheat reward, and then to the lie and cheat reward, then the reward for the deceitful, bear false witness, be stingy when trading, and others. They are called psychopaths, but there is also a milder version, the sociopath, but also the schizophrenic and the melancholic. For to understand, it is simple to follow concept, that let us understand people. The first is a four-group schema, which really anyone seemed to fit in. The groups are sanguine, choleric, melancholic, and phlegmatic. The choleric melancholic is a result-oriented, detailed person who is not interested in social involvement. They are driven by a strong will to achieve their detailed plan. They can be direct, blunt, and forceful, yet at times show great sensitivity toward others. The melancholic choleric is a systematic and precise thinker. They follow self-imposed, strict procedures in both their business and personal lives. The melancholic choleric has a firm, serious expressions, and they rarely smile. Ultimate symmetry. Maria. The hidden gem. Learn and train the game. I was amazed and asked the farmer, okay, I understand that there are different levels, but now that I'm at the market stall, how can I tell if someone is benevolent or not? I've never seen them before, and to find out, I would need to observe how they interact with animals or have a conversation to discover their true nature. The farmer replied, on one hand, it's simple, but on the other hand, it requires a bit of training. We use our psychic abilities, the same ones that connect us to animals and plants, to read their minds. Since those individuals are ambitious and harm others, albeit within legal limits, they become parasites in society. That's why we can fully utilize our psychic potential and tap into our connection with our beloved Father in heaven, the Alpha Intelligence. By doing so, we receive blessings, while others learn from your example and follow the path of those who are proud and play the game of the bad people. I asked the farmer, I still don't understand how, in a matter of seconds, while I'm busy showcasing, selecting, and weighing the goods, I can determine their intentions. The farmer replied, there's a little game they play. Do you remember the game? I responded to the farmer, oh yes, the game. It's an invention of humans where, in most cases, there are only two possible outcomes. One person wins, creating a loser in the process. But in God's creation, there are no losers because it's a pure win-win situation created by the Alpha Intelligence. Ultimate symmetry. Maria. The hidden gem. The game of power duel. The farmer's eyes lit up, and he said, exactly. Why? Because it is these same parasitic individuals who have created these games. I asked the farmer, but it's strange, you're right. Now I'm starting to understand. They invented all of this to manipulate others even more effectively. I always wondered why books and lullabies for children are designed in a way that always portrays evil characters like wizards and wolves, who try to do the most brutal and dark things imaginable. In the Garden of Heaven, I had never, ever heard a negative tale or lullaby from Alpha Intelligence when we ate the apple at Eden. Even in school, the same thing is taught, with teachers thinking that rich children are very smart and declaring the poor ones are stupid after receiving secret payments from the rich. The farmer replied, "Oh yes, you're talking about their parasitic power structure. One of my favorites is the sausage principle. First, you can check the sentiment in their voice and how they pronounce their words when they approach you. This leads to a two-group system, but it's very easy to cheat. The rules are, if someone's approach is biased towards conditions and you feel their social superiority in their words without love, harmony, or gratitude, then it's simple, and you have found their true nature. The tricky ones are the cheaters and psychopaths. They have trained to deceive us and have become quite good at it, since ambition drives them to train and learn. Therefore, this group of benevolent people must be sorted again, as someone from the opposite side of good intentions could sneak in. The best method I've found is to use their own trick against them, the sausage principle, with its supreme power as pest control for these parasitic humans. You can simply leave some change on the table, hidden between the pots, so that only the customer can see it. Then you can subtly move your head from side to check if the sausage is still there. Also, in front of the basket with the red apples, you can place 3 of the best colored and highest quality apples from your store. When you return after cleaning the vegetables at the source, see if the 3 apples are still in the same position or if 1 or 2 are missing. Never let the customer handle the packaging, always do it yourself to avoid being fooled by weight during payment. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. The game at the market. The farmer explained it as best as he could, and he was right. The second part required a bit of training to adjust the weights and biases, so we wouldn't align ourselves with the high-level vectors in the direction they wanted. The next week, I started trading at the market stall. I thought it wouldn't be too difficult now that I knew how to identify the benevolent customers. But then I realized there was also the obvious group that needed no training at all because their actions spoke louder than words. Dealing with the stuck-up rich women was more tiresome and unpleasant. Then, on the second day before noon, another customer appeared friendly and bought fruits, vegetables, and oil. However, when it came time to pay, she tricked me and claimed I had miscounted the previous day. She insisted on paying for only 5 apples instead of 7. I couldn't believe it, but she was adamant, so what could I do? Towards the end of the week, I went to pay for the stall. They now required payment in advance to ensure the stall was rented even if some people didn't show up. The administrator was a small guy with a strange old accent, and he did the same thing. He seemed friendly when greeting me, but when I counted the money at home, 2 leptons were missing. I had counted all my leptons before packaging the goods. Then, a very wealthy man came and claimed that he had already paid the master farmer. He asked me to hand over 2 amphorae of oil and some cheese. I couldn't trust him, as he was a stranger to me. He became immediately irritable and scolded me, calling me a naughty child for questioning his integrity. As you might have guessed, he hadn't paid a single lepton to the master farmer. I didn't even know his name or address since I had forgotten to find out in the midst of the unpleasant situation. At the market, another person smiled at me in the morning when everyone was setting up their stalls. I smiled back, and then she asked me to help build her stall and hand her the goods. I did as she asked, but soon I found myself doing all the work while she chatted with someone else. It became clear that she was taking advantage of me, but the most deceitful vendor at the market seemed like a nice lady at first. Soon enough, everything fell apart. She regularly came to chat and asked me about others at the market and the master farmer. She always presented her point of view first and then asked for my opinion. I didn't expect anything at all, but the people at the market started looking at me as if I were a unicorn. After 3 days, the farmer told me that she was a poisonous beast who spread lies and accusations as much as she could. It was all about that inverted mind principle, where she got rewarded for her bad deeds. She was a real master at it, and as an untrained person, I didn't stand a chance. These people even invented words and tricks to deceive us and get their rewards. They always seemed nice at first, but it was all just a ploy to lure us into their game. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. Defeat the trolls. This is the game of power duel, and those are the trolls. She was so mean, it started with personal attacks. But the farmer told me to stay calm and not be afraid because in the end, the one who follows the 10 commandments will always win the game of power duel. So I did just that. Whenever she came to my stall to deceive me, I would act busy and go clean the vegetables at the well, or deal with other vendors for fish and such. One evening, I noticed that she had a secret lover. They tried to hide it, but it was so obvious to me. The way he looked at her and her responding expressions gave it away. Suddenly, she disappeared and after 6 minutes, she came back with disheveled hair and adjusted skirt. No one else seemed to notice, but it was clear to me. The farmer had a good laugh and said, "Oops. Game over. You've earned 100 experience points and filled 3 hearts on your status bar for the next game of power duel. Well done, my daughter. Give me a hug." The next day, I saw him coming and sneaked around as if I were just visiting the market. I went in the direction where she would always disappear and stood behind the pyre. Soon enough, I heard her giggle. Then, after 1 minute, I pretended to walk around. As soon as I passed by the barn, voila! Game over. Since I knew her husband, she never came back to trade in the market. Her sister took her place instead. It was a little dirty secret observed by an anonymous pedestrian. Oops. Game over. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. Power Structure of Society. Christus listened attentively to Maria's story and nodded in understanding. He said, "You're absolutely right, Maria. It's important to be cautious and discerning when it comes to seeking guidance and wisdom from others. There are those who claim to have all the answers, but their intentions may not be pure. The power structure of society can sometimes be skewed, with certain individuals using their positions of authority to manipulate and deceive others. It's crucial to remember that true wisdom and guidance come from within, from our own experiences and intuition. It's easy to be swayed by charismatic speakers or supposed experts, but we must always question their motives and examine their actions. The true teachers and guides are those who lead by example, who practice what they preach and genuinely care about the well-being of others. Instead of relying solely on books or theories, it's important to live life fully and gain practical wisdom through our own experiences. The ultimate wisdom comes from aligning ourselves with the higher values of love, compassion, and integrity. So, my dear Maria, let us be discerning in our search for truth. Let us trust our own inner voice and seek guidance from those who truly embody the principles they teach. In doing so, we can navigate through the complexities of life and avoid falling into the traps set by false prophets. Remember, it is through our own growth and understanding that we can shine as hidden gems in a world often clouded by deceit and manipulation. Let us embrace the power of true wisdom and lead lives filled with love, authenticity, and the pursuit of ultimate symmetry. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. Learn and practice the game. Maria said to Christus, "Yes, you're right, Christus. They are the same people, just in different positions like politicians, scholars, administrators, scientists, and doctors. It's a silly game where they, the 1%, pit the remaining 99% against us by lying and cheating. The farmer told me that this is the burden and martyrdom we, as keepers of the 10 Commandments, must bear, and it seems to have been created solely to collect people's souls. Christus replied, like a mass sacrifice in worship of Lucifer and his fallen angels. What I've learned is the same as you, that more practice is necessary. It's because we don't expect such things and are automatically aligned with unconditional love when someone talks about God, spirituality, and everything related to God. Now I've learned to simply respond, but never conclusively. With silly word games, they try to make us say something personal or offensive. Here's how it works. They give us an initial statement where they speak positively and try to make us say yes or confess our true thoughts about it. Then they ask the next question, which is obviously uncomfortable, but now they blackmail us into confessing the second question as well, as they have already defeated us in their game with the first question. Since it happens so quickly, and maybe even in a 3-stage process, where they show sympathy, then force a confession, and then blackmail us because it happened so quickly and seemed friendly beforehand. The only thing I've learned and have been winning ever since is to never respond to silly questions with personal thoughts. Instead, when it comes to our personal thoughts and our personal thinking, everything that concerns us, we must never answer a silly question and reveal our personal thoughts, because those are not questions. What we do is respond to the question in a way that we never have to talk about ourselves. Now they try to make it personal, but here's the point where atheists and Satanists always think they're super clever and can use our unconditional state to their advantage. The point is that we don't have to answer these questions at all because we have the right to have private thoughts. We simply tell them that this is a question that is not a question, as there is a moral privacy rule. No one can bypass this moral rule. And if they persist, instead of answering their question, we can ask a counter-question and ask them what the moral legality would be if it only applies to others but not to themselves, and who is asking a question that disregards the moral legality and privacy of thinking. Bingo! Voila! Game over. Game of power duels defeated by their own transgression. Perfect, and it always works. Always remember, if the question is not a question because it violates the moral law, then we never answer, but instead ask a counter-question and ask them who is the one asking questions and thus disregarding the moral law and privacy of thinking. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. The importance of the market lesson. Maria said to Christus, "Let's give each other a hug." I realized that the market lesson was not just about helping the farmer master as a market vendor. It was a very important training that goes beyond the subject itself. It's about improving ourselves and learning to be better in a short amount of time. You see, these mean people have spent their entire lives training and perfecting their deceitful ways. Their minds are filled with evil and parasitic thoughts, just like that nasty woman on the market who used me to boost her own ego instead of being genuinely interesting, like us. We are loved by animals, plants, and even kind-hearted humans. Not all humans are like that, but it's strange how 1% of evil individuals can influence the other 98% who often lack their own opinions. Meanwhile, the remaining 1% are the indigenous people, the wise ones, and the masters who are persecuted, punished, and silenced by the puppet masters, including clerks, priests, administrators, and teachers. It was a deep lesson, not exactly heavenly, you might say. But now it's over, and the farmer told me that I have successfully become a master of the market teachings. He said, "We will find you a new master who can teach you whatever you want to learn." Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. The Secret Home Office. The farmer is connected to the plants and animal as we do, so he knew that I could not just go around and become apprentice to master even more disciplines. He went around with me and asked all the masters that he would be interested to become apprentice, but he would need to know what the school is all about, and to find the most suitable. Then when I was interested, he could learn at home because he told them as farmer he could only study and learn at the evening and could not leave his farm. They would all agree and were blessed with our fruits, vegetables, olive oil and cheese. I learned the number space symmetry as Pythagoras suggested, and then the follow-up, the same way they introduced you to the concepts of creation. But then, it was before you came here, farmer said we would go to our other market too. It was a longer way to go, but in the end we sold more because the size was a couple of times bigger as our beloved little market. There was always gypsy people performing magic tricks, and tamed animals like bears and lions. We were not for long selling on this market, because it was somehow unfriendly and the people eager to make money. So he said that the market here is much more suitable, and that then we would have even less work. But then there was this gypsy, psychic. Really, I do not exaggerate, when I saw his skills presented on the market, I knew that I must become apprentice and learn everything about this psychic capability. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. The Psychic Master. Maria shared her story with Christus, telling him about her encounter with the Psychic Master. She explained that the farmer had mentioned the power of connecting with animals and plants, but that the psychic abilities had even greater potential, including the ability to heal people. However, she cautioned Christus to be cautious and wary of masters who charged money for their teachings or claimed to have all the answers. Maria was 16 years old at the time, and Christus was 21. She continued her story, recounting how she went on a journey to see the gypsy, a renowned psychic, even though she couldn't speak to him directly during his performance. When she arrived at the market, she observed his skills from a distance. After his presentation, when he was packing up, he noticed her lingering and motioned for her to come with him. They went to the Golden Ox Tavern, where he invited her to join him for a meal. As Maria started to ask her questions, the gypsy looked into her eyes and assured her that she possessed the innate gifts she was seeking. Although he made money from his art, his voice was filled with love and unconditional support. Maria was taken aback by his words, but managed to recall her questions, which he answered in a profound and enlightening manner. From that point on, Maria began her training in psychic abilities. The gypsy taught her various techniques, with meditation being the first and most important concept she learned. While the gypsy usually charged for his teachings, Maria was fortunate to join his school for free due to their unique circumstances. She was grateful for the opportunity to learn from a true master without any gender biases. Maria shared an intriguing example of the gypsy's abilities, where he would make people believe they were tasting a sweet orange when it was actually a sour lemon, using hypnosis and a snap of his fingers to alter their perception. She asked him where he had learned such skills, and he explained that the knowledge came from an Egyptian school. However, he emphasized that the true skill could only be discovered within oneself and that only a few gifted individuals possessed such abilities. Excited and eager to continue her journey, Maria thanked Christus for listening and expressed her enthusiasm for the knowledge and training she was about to receive from the psychic master. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The Hidden Gem. Learn and train. He then explained some simple rules that we should follow. The first rule is that our psychic ability is connected to our imagination. So, it's important to practice focusing our mind during meditation and imagining light and color energy entering through our third eye. But on the other hand, he said that it's equally important to learn how to let go and relax our mind. In meditation, we should let go of thoughts and distractions, allowing images and visions to arise naturally. The third rule is about our posture during meditation. We should never cross our legs because it blocks the energy flow. Instead, We should keep our feet on the ground to allow the energy to flow through our body and release any excess energy into the earth. Christus was intrigued and asked for more clarification. He wanted to understand the concept of energy flow better. Maria explained, the energy flow is what he called the OD force. It's like a special type of energy that flows through our body and connects us to the universe. Christus exclaimed, OD force. That's fascinating. As a carpenter, I never had the chance to explore this side of life. I was always busy with work and meeting deadlines. But now, I'm curious to learn more. Maria continued, the most important concept I learned during my training was the ability to focus and let go. After practicing for 3 months, I noticed significant improvements. I could experience stable and vivid dreams through this technique. She further explained that the last technique they practiced was a form of connection through the OD force. They would visualize each other on a plane, with an oversized red heart. From the heart, a small stream of OD force would flow, gradually growing stronger and merging into a tiny lake. It was an exhilarating experience, Maria shared. I felt a sense of upliftment and connection that I had never felt before, until I met you. I immediately went to him and asked if he felt the same way. He smiled and confirmed that I was indeed specially gifted. They also learned another technique, where they visualized each other across a vast crack in the plane. The OD force took on a golden color, flowing like water, and streams formed on both sides, filling the empty lake and growing larger. Maria expressed her excitement for their journey of exploration and practice, discovering new dimensions and meeting other beloved beings on Earth. Ultimate Symmetry. Maria. The hidden gem. The telepathy alignment. The feeling I had during that meditation with the gypsy was truly amazing. It was a feeling of pure joy and connection that I hadn't experienced before on my own. Christus asked what happened next, eager to hear more about Maria's journey. Maria explained, after our encounter, the gypsy told me that the rest was training. He emphasized the importance of being able to let go of focus, as it would allow us to hear the true selves of others. He explained that in our society, there is so much noise and distraction that it becomes difficult to truly listen to others. But when we can let go of our own conditioned thoughts and beliefs, we can connect telepathically with plants, animals, and even children. It's the basic concept of telepathy, a fundamental aspect of creation. Christus exclaimed, "Wow, that's beautiful. I've always felt a deep connection with the animal kingdom, plant kingdom, and mushroom kingdom. Love flows through them so abundantly. But what happened to the gypsy?" Maria continued, "He told me that we had known each other in Egypt a long time ago when he was a priest. Although I couldn't recall those memories, he said that we would connect telepathically during specific times, usually at sunrise or sunset, when our energies aligned." Christus shared his own experience, saying, "I've also felt a similar connection, especially during the full moon rise. It's a powerful experience. Master Pythagoras sends his regards and invites you to join his garden on Sundays. You can bring the olives and cheese, so no one from the village will suspect a thing." They both enjoyed the peaceful night by the river, with the moon casting a beautiful glow. It felt as if the moon's energy was flowing into the land, creating a stream of OD force. They found a small meadow elevated above the river and sat hand in hand, not needing words to express their connection. The sky was clear, and the stars shone brightly, as if celebrating their bond. When Christus returned home to the master, Lambda the dog greeted him with excitement. Although they had always shared a special connection, this time Lambda couldn't look him in the eyes anymore. In the garden on Sunday morning, the master eagerly awaited Christus' return, curious to hear about his experiences. How could he possibly put into words the beauty and profoundness of his journey? It was like trying to capture a million stars in just one word or sentence. Ultimate symmetry. Maria. The hidden gem. The mystery of Egypt. Christus had always been intrigued by the mysteries of Egypt. He had heard tales of the grand pyramids that stood tall and majestic, capturing the awe and wonder of all who beheld them. The true purpose of these magnificent structures remained shrouded in mystery, defying explanation even from the most knowledgeable scholars. No matter how many questions were asked, no answer could truly capture the essence and significance of Egypt's enigma. The pyramids were a unique phenomenon, unlike anything else in the world. Their presence alone was a testament to the marvels of human achievement. To unravel the secrets they held, one had to attend a school in Egypt. However, this path was only accessible to the wealthy, as the cost of apprenticeship was steep. Christus, a skilled master carpenter, dreamed of becoming an apprentice and uncovering the truth behind Egypt's enigmatic mysteries. But fate had other plans, as unexpected circumstances prevented him from embarking on this journey for the time being. Then came Maria, an embodiment of indescribable symmetry. As Christus went about his daily life, he couldn't help but notice the beauty of the women he encountered. In the evenings, as they relaxed and socialized, their attire revealed glimpses of their physical forms. Even in his carpentry work, he observed the contrast between strong, deep-voiced men and his own self-reflection. It all began with a simple observation of feet and toes. Christus noticed that few individuals possessed truly beautiful feet, while some of the masters he encountered displayed feet with perfectly straight toes. This realization led him to understand that the feet were not merely physical features but expressions of the inner mind. The body itself reflected this truth, and symmetry played a crucial role in maintaining balance and harmony, even as one aged. Lady Nada stood as an exceptional example, embodying the utmost symmetry achievable through complete mastery of the physical plane. As Christus delved into the concepts of the symmetry vector, he began to grasp that it represented more than just physical harmony. It was an expression of the entire mind, encompassing the mysteries and depths of human existence. The question that lingered in his thoughts was why this expression of symmetry held such profound significance. Ultimate symmetry. Maria. The hidden gem. Susilogic, the concept. As Christus continued his observations, he noticed a fascinating pattern related to feet. He realized that wealthy individuals often wore expensive and fashionable shoes, but when they took them off, their feet didn't possess the same level of beauty. This discovery left Christus disappointed. As he walked through villages, cities, and marketplaces, he began to lower his gaze and focus solely on people's feet. If he spotted someone with beautiful feet, he found it interesting to engage in conversation with them. During the summertime, Christus noticed that individuals with beautiful minds, bodies, and feet would choose to walk barefoot, appreciating and training their connection with Mother Earth with each step. This practice allowed them to maintain their true spirit, while wealthy individuals often concealed their true selves behind expensive shoes. This became a profound answer to the question of physiognomy: who are you? Inspired by this realization, Christus embarked on his own private study of symmetry, starting with the lowest level, the feet. He observed priests, politicians, scholars, clerks, administrators, trustees, managers, and stewards. Unfortunately, the results were disappointing, as those who tended to lie displayed little to no symmetry, with only a few exceptions. However, in the marketplace, he found a clear pattern among mothers at market stalls, farmers as vendors, gypsies, jugglers, and traders. Within this group, he noticed that mothers who never trained their symmetry lacked the same level of balance. Similarly, the strong men with deep voices at construction sites or in taverns seemed to neglect symmetry in their thinking. If a woman with untrained symmetry had certain needs, she would often turn to one of these strong men for a brief encounter. This discovery led Christus to develop the second concept in his quest for ultimate symmetry. Ultimate symmetry. Maria. The hidden gem. Sausage the principle. The first concept is very simple, yet perfectly conclusive. Imagine for a moment that Susie is in the kitchen, cooking a meal for her family. There is a delicious sausage on the table, while the dog is on the floor. Suddenly, the neighbor knocks on the door, and Susie goes to answer it. She gets caught up in a conversation and forgets about the sausage on the table for 12 minutes. After using the restroom, Susie returns to the kitchen. There are only two possible answers to this question. Outcome 1. The sausage is missing, and the dog has a guilty conscience. Outcome 2. The sausage is still on the table, and the dog is happy. Ultimate symmetry. Maria. The hidden gem. Unconditional the concept. The third concept he developed was called unconditional. It was his own way of looking at things without any conditions or judgments. From a young age, Christus observed that people always placed conditions on everything based on their own perspectives. They believed themselves to be superior and assigned value to everything accordingly. This mindset allowed them to justify their positions of power and control over others. Within this hierarchical power structure, the lower levels consisted of those who benefited from the system at the expense of the poor, sick, and elderly. However, Christus saw things differently. He believed in honesty, compassion, and recognizing the true essence within every living being, regardless of societal conditions or judgments. For instance, there was a woman named Susie who worked as a cleaning lady in the temple and council house. People treated her as if she were mentally challenged and assigned her low value based solely on her name. But after talking to Susie and observing her feet, Christus realized that these judgments were unfounded. Even in her simplicity, Susie embodied symmetry and beauty. Christus understood that society often assigns false names and devalues anything that does not fit within their narrow worldview. It is a way to maintain power and control over others, branding them as slaves. In response, Christus decided to give things their true names and coined the term Susilogic to describe this principle. When Christus entered a village, it was not the society's elite that he sought out first. Instead, he connected with street animals, outcasts, and the marginalized. They welcomed him and formed a pack, showing their trust and acceptance. Christus would engage with them, offer advice, and even share what he had, including bread. His approach challenged the power dynamics and conventional thinking of society. He recognized the inherent value in all living beings and believed in the power of unconditional love and acceptance. Only after connecting with the most vulnerable members of the community would he engage with priests, politicians, and physicists, seeking to influence positive change from the ground up. Ultimate symmetry. Maria. The hidden gem. The secret symmetry. The market was always an exciting place for Maria, as she would bring the vegetables to the farmer's stall in the afternoon. However, there was a secret surrounding Maria and her true identity. To keep it hidden, she came up with a clever solution. She would bring the oil, cheese, and olives to the castle instead. The castle was a magnificent structure built in the old style, situated on top of a hill around which the village was built. A long staircase led up the hill, with multiple stages in between to change directions and follow the contours of the land. On the side, there was a pathway for horses and chariots, leading to the grand gate with its drawbridge. Only the wealthy would use the staircase, while others would deliver their goods using hand wagons or ox-drawn chariots. Maria always went up the staircase at the same time, precisely when the sundial's hand pointed at 3 o'clock. The kitchen steward would be waiting outside the kitchen to receive the precious goods. Meanwhile, Christus knew to descend the staircase from the upper side. They would meet at the landing between the staircases, where they had a few minutes of privacy. Aware of the noise caused by others wearing shoes, they could continue walking in the same direction without drawing attention. It was their special moment on the staircase, a private embrace and perhaps a tender kiss. Weeks passed, yet every evening at home, Christus felt the lingering sensation of their deep embrace. It was as if he could still sense the symmetry of their bodies connecting. This indescribable feeling of being home and complete would last throughout the night, and even the next day. He could never forget the profound alignment of their symmetries. It seemed as though Maria was the counterpart specially created by God, and they both realized that God creates us in pairs, with a perfect matching counterpart waiting to be discovered. They understood that their symmetries must align with each other since God is incredibly generous. On another day at the stairway, Christus was already there when Maria ascended the hill. She shared with him what the farmer had said, that she should teach him to become a master of botany and invite him to her garden to meet. Maria expressed her admiration for the farmer, feeling a deep connection with his teachings. Just as someone was approaching from above, they let go of each other and walked away, their secret symmetries still resonating within them.